Women are powerful creators. The Align Women podcast features female entrepreneurs, leaders, and other professional women who've demonstrated agency and innovation in their personal and professional lives. I'm your host, Amy Evans. I have authentic, intimate conversations with my guests that highlight their paths to success, their struggles and accomplishments, and the things that currently excite, motivate, and inspire them to turn their visions into reality. Welcome to the Align Women podcast. I'm Amy Evans, your host and the founder of Align Women, a leadership and networking organization for professional women. This podcast features female entrepreneurs, leaders, and other professional women who've demonstrated agency and innovation in their personal and professional lives. With me today is Wendy Barlin. Wendy is a business and tax strategist, and her company is called About Profit. She also has a book that's called That's Deductible, and I'm excited to talk with her and pick her brain about finance issues, which is one of my favorite subjects. Welcome to the podcast, Wendy.
Thank you, Amy.
So let's start first with a certification that your business has. It's called the Profit First certification, and not every tax strategist has that certification. Tell me what that entails and how you use it to serve your clients.
I found Profit First 3 years ago. It's a book based on a book by Mike McAllowitz. You can find it on Amazon. And I stumbled upon it, and wow, it changed my life. In that year, I had worked so hard, and I had doubled my revenue. I thought I was pretty hot stuff. I had doubled my revenue, and it came to December, and I was doing my year-end tax planning for myself. I paid my taxes, and you know what was left? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I sat down and I cried and I said, how could this happen to me? I'm an accountant. I doubled my revenue and I have nothing to show for working 60-hour weeks. It was devastating. And when I read Profit First, I realized how and why that had happened to me. It's all about the old analogies of you eat what's on your plate. The bigger the plate, the more you eat. The fish growing into the fishbowl. All those analogies are what's covered in Profit First. It is a simple cash flow methodology of how to manage your money. So I jumped in like I always do, and I said, all right, I'm an accountant. I can do this. It's going to change my life. 3 weeks later, I was bouncing checks everywhere. So I called Mike McAllowitz, and I said, listen, this book doesn't work. It's junk. I just want to let you know. And he very kindly talked me off the ledge, showed me how to tweak it to make it work. And here we are 3 years later. I took the certification test to now be able to teach my clients how to implement this cash flow strategy that has changed my life. And we are a nationwide organization, mostly of accountants, teaching our clients how to use the system.
So I love that you learned it first and applied it to your own business. So you really understand what the ins and outs are like. And now you've gone through the certification and you're able to communicate that to your clients. And is that a system that you use exclusively with your clients, or do you have clients who don't use that system and you still work with them?
Yes, there are some people that don't want to. We always have the conversation. And I have lots and lots on my website of video testimonials of people saying how this has changed their lives too. There's always someone who says, this won't work for me, this won't work for me. Ultimately, I've never found anyone it doesn't work for, but there are some of my clients that kind of have other struggles before we have the cash flow struggle.
Got it. That makes sense. That obviously there are other things to address before you address that. So tell me about your business model, because that is unique in that it is a flat fee business model, which is unusual. And tell me why you chose that business model over the business models that more traditional accounting firms use.
Right. Thank you. Yes. So when I worked in traditional accounting firms, I was always told, get off the phone, stop talking to the clients, bill the hours. We need 60 hours a week. And I always thought, well, am I really helping anyone? I just didn't feel like I was helping anyone. Because you know what? Most of the clients, they just wanted someone to talk to. They wanted to share their financial stress. They wanted to share their financial burdens. And billing was not the way to do it, in my opinion. And then I would dread the end of the month, because every month I would get that phone call saying, Wendy, we were on the phone for 20 minutes and you've billed me for 32 minutes. And now I'm having this horrible discussion with the client over $56. It was awful. So when I started my own business well over 10 years ago now, I decided that I truly want to help people. And I actually want them to call me. So we set up our model to be a flat fee basis. We're just like a restaurant, or used to be restaurants. We have a menu. You decide what services you need, consulting, coaching, taxes, bookkeeping, whatever you need. We put a price on it. We divide it by 12, and it runs on your credit card every month, and we don't talk about money again. Then you call me or you email me when you are leasing or buying a car, hiring or firing, whatever's going on in your world, you call, and you don't get another bill from us. What that does for us is it forces us to keep our client base small. It's not about dollars, it's about people. So when we choose to work with people, it forces us to be very clear about who's a good match for our system and who can we truly help. And that is on me. That is on me to help us decide if we're a good fit. There've definitely been some moments where I've gone, oh my gosh, I should just do hourly billing. And it's been a process, but I feel like now we're at a place where I can be extremely clear about what we do and who we help.
I love that. I have seen that model work in other places like law. And I have someone in my Align Women networking mastermind who provides legal services on a flat fee basis as opposed to and a billable hours basis. And she's found that works very well for her for similar reasons, that she can really serve her clients. And I also think that you brought up something that we don't talk about enough as entrepreneurs, which is that one of the benefits of being an entrepreneur is that you get to select your clients. You can curate your client list. And I think that's a hard-won realization, because a lot of people in the beginning want to take on any client that's going to pay them. But when you can really hit your stride like you have and really take on the clients that you know you can help and that fit your business model, that's a lovely thing. So I'm glad you get to experience that.
And it definitely has its price, right? So it's not easy and it's hard work, but I do think that ultimately not all clients are created equal, not all dollars are created equal. And so I've definitely learned along the way what I like in a client and where my zone of genius can help them. It's really been extremely valuable. The other way that this works is we get the uncomfortable money discussions out of the way right up front. Right up front, we spend time talking about money, and they're uncomfortable, and I'm uncomfortable, but we get it out of the way, and then we can get to work. And that really changes up the tempo of the relationship.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So I want to talk with you a little bit about your path to success, because it is a very interesting one. Tell me where you started. Tell me why you came to the U.S., because that wasn't where you originally started, and how you got where you are now. And I'm sure that can be a 5-hour-long conversation. Give me the highlights.
Yeah, right. I could be here all day. I'm originally from South Africa, and I had a chartered accountancy license there. When I was 24, my parents said to me, South Africa is not going anywhere. It's getting worse and not better. You're ready to build your future. Go and find your future. And I packed a bag, and now as a parent, I cannot believe they let me do that, because there was no internet. The only way to communicate was fax. I packed a bag, and I backpacked around the world for a year. And I just loved Los Angeles. I fell in love with the opportunities, the passion, the sense that you could do or be anything you wanted to be. And as fate would have it, I found a job. I went to Ross, dressed for less, and bought a skirt and a jacket and went to work. And here we are 25 years later, and I still feel very, very grateful for every day to be here.
It's such an amazing. I can't believe parents would send you across the world either. But what an incredible opportunity. And I'm so in support of people exploring the world and figuring out what they want to do. I think too many people go to college to get a degree and they have no idea who they are or what they want. So that you got that opportunity was a really valuable one. And I'm so glad that you landed here. I can't imagine living anywhere else either. And I've traveled all over the world, and LA will always be my home.
Me too. I've tried, and every time I end up coming back, and I think there's definitely an energy and possibilities in the city.
And everything that you could ever want at your fingertips. And there are not that many places on the planet where every art show, every concert, every anything passes through here. And we have an international airport, and we have beautiful weather, and. But I don't have to sell you on it because you're already here. So I asked you a question, and I asked you what motivates you, and you said something so powerful that it has stuck with me since you said it. And I've actually shared it with other people before we even had the chance to discuss it on the podcast. So you said, I believe that women need choices. If you understand your money, you give yourself choices. And that actually gives me goosebumps just to say it, because it's an articulation of something I believe so strongly, and it's such an underpinning to what I do with Aligned Women. So tell me about that. Tell me how you've concluded that, and how you see that play out in your own life and in the lives of your clients.
So I'm going to preface this by saying I'm an oversharer. If this bothers you, I apologize. But
totally okay.
I grew up in South Africa, which is in the 70s was a very traditional British-infused society. My mother didn't work. My dad worked very long hours. My mother didn't work, and he would come home very grumpy. He would yell at her. It was just uncomfortable. And I remember as a teenager saying to her, "Why do you put up with that?" And she said to me, "I have no choice, and we have nowhere else to go." And I said to myself, that will never be me. I will never not have a choice. And my children will never not have a choice. And so when it was time to go to college, I wanted to be a travel agent. I wanted to be a princess in a white dress with a man and a white horse who would come. But I kind of realized that wasn't going to do it. So that's why I chose to do accounting, because I knew that no matter what happened, I would always be able to have money in my bank account and take care of myself. And, I have fortunately had success here in the States, but I've also had a lot of bumps along the way. And I asked a husband to leave his car keys and his front door key on his way out, because it's my house and my car. And that has given me a sense of security that I can make the choices that are appropriate for me and my family. And that's my goal for other women, especially women, is to be able to make the choice that's best for them, because they have the money in the bank to do so.
It's still goosebumps. It's such an important point. And I sometimes share this, that I hear a lot of people lament the divorce rate, and a 50% divorce rate is nothing to celebrate. But my response to that is, imagine how many of those women could get out of a marriage they were unhappy in because they had the financial means to do so. Because we're at a point where women can get the education and they can get the jobs to be able to have those choices, where in your mother's in your mother's marriage, in my mother's marriage, they did not. They did not have the freedom to do that. So not that I want to see a high divorce rate, but I think it's an indicator that women have the ability to be on their own and make those choices and take care of themselves.
Yep.
So I asked you also where you still struggle, and you said that team management is a challenge for you, and I very, very much relate to that. I think that a lot of us as entrepreneurs are fiercely independent. We figure out how we want to do it our way, and then there's a point at which, if we want to continue to grow, other people have to be involved. We can't. There's a point where we've maxed out our resources, and we have to bring other people in order to build our businesses. And you also mentioned that you work with a business coach, as I do, to help me navigate those challenges. So tell me the challenges that you've faced in running a team and how your business coach supports you in that.
It is the worst part of being a business owner, in my opinion. The people management is really hard for me. I love my team. They're great people. So I find it very hard to have the difficult conversations with them. And I have to work really hard to keep the barrier between being colleagues and professional and friends. I really struggle with that as a human being. There is nowhere that I have found to go for training in this area. It seems to be a skill set that I do not have. I've tried many different ways to obtain it, and I fail every time. I force myself to step up and do the weekly team meetings. We're doing everything we can. Where my coach steps in and really helps me is to sometimes help me see clearly what is really an issue and what is me just being a little bit of a bitch, or me just having a really bad day and being irritated. Right. And that's sometimes helpful. An example of that would be my previous assistant had Monday-itis. So she called in sick every Monday, a different story every week. Flat tire, sick kid, sore thumb, you name it. Every Tuesday, she showed up like a rock star. Tuesday through Friday, she was a rock star. I loved this woman. So do I get rid of her because of her Monday-itis? Or do I keep her, suck it up, and know that she's a rock star Tuesday through Friday? Those are the kinds of decisions that I really struggle with, and I needed an independent person to help me walk through.
Totally makes sense. And the word that you use that resonates with me so much is clarity. Having somebody outside of your internal world to reflect with and have them say, have you considered this possibility? Do you have the blinders on there? Are you just cranky today? I think that's really helpful. And you also bring up a point that I think a lot of women in management struggle with. We are very wired to value the intrinsic personal relationships that we develop with people. We get value from that. That's meaningful to us. And to be in a power position where you need to direct people means that sometimes those two things can't exist at the same time. Of course, you can be kind. Of course, you can be supportive. Of course, you can be gentle. But sometimes you have to manage the person who's not doing the work you need them to do. And that's, I think that's internally very difficult. And I think sometimes we think it's supposed to be easier, and maybe we're even hard on ourselves because it seems so much harder than it's supposed to be. And I think that's we're wired that way, and it's very hard to figure out how to navigate that.
In addition, I seem to see, these Google-esque offices where people go bowling on Fridays and have book clubs and play foosball at lunch. Yeah. And I say to myself, I want that. But the truth is, I really don't, because I do not have the skill set to manage it, and that wouldn't be a wise choice for our team. So I think that's another piece of it too. And I tell clients this all the time: decide who you want to be, and let's not be distracted by all the other things that look so great, but they're not a good match for who you are as a leader. And I've had to really make some very hard choices about how I run my business and who's on my team in order to have it match with my skill set.
That makes sense. And I promise you that those companies that are doing all of those fun things, they still have what would the right description be? They still have a person who's got to, strong arm things when they need to be strong armed. I mean, if Vishen Lakhiani wants to run his beautiful company the way he does, he gets to be the public loving, inclusive face of everything. He's got somebody behind him who's putting the hammer down when people need to get their job done. And we can't be all of those roles at once. So I totally get it. I could talk with you for hours and hours and hours. I love women who are in finance. I love women who who understand the value of choices when your finances are in order, both at a business level and at a personal level, to have the freedom to say, I'm going to invest in this thing this year. Or I'm going to stop investing in that thing this year in my business because it's going to benefit me or not benefit me. To have the ability to make those choices professionally and personally, I think is so valuable. And I'm going to continue to keep your words on a Post-it by my computer, because you just put it so eloquently, and I'm really excited to share this with my audience. So I very much appreciate you being on the podcast. Where can people find you if they'd like to connect with you?
Well, thank you, Amy. Yes, so our website is About Profit, and you're welcome to go there. There's a bunch of free downloads. You can actually book time right into my calendar so we can have a conversation. I often find that if I'm not the right fit for your needs, I know other people who might be. Please don't think that you have to accept an old-fashioned accountant that you see once a year with your bag of stuff. Financial advice and tax, it all kind of goes together. And I really want people to get the advice they need to grow their businesses. And then, as you said, my book, That's Deductible, is on Amazon. And my newest book just came out last week called Never Budget Again. And that's personal money management. You can also find that on Amazon. Thank you, Amy.
I love it. We will put both the links to both of those books in the show notes, and all of your website and contact information. So thank you so much for joining me on the Align Women podcast today, Wendy. It's been a delight to have you.
Thank you.
And look for more episodes with more amazing women at alignwomenpodcast.com.
Thanks for listening to the Align Women podcast. You can find more episodes with more amazing women at alignwomenpodcast.com, and visit alignwomen.org to learn more about our leadership and networking organization. This is Amy Evans, and you've been listening to the Align Women podcast.